Taiwan, I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's Coast Guard is reporting unusual movement from Chinese ships around the country. At least 7 Chinese Coast Guard vessels have been spotted operating near Taiwan since Monday morning. Taiwan's military has also announced that Chinese military drills are set to begin around the island on Monday and has established a command center in response. The drills come shortly after President Lai Ching-te's recent trip to visit diplomatic allies, which included a stopover in 2 U.S. territories, Hawaii and Guam. The Syrian government has fallen as rebel forces took the capital of Damascus, a sudden end to the Assad family's 50-year rule. The newly ousted president and his family have been granted asylum in Moscow after fleeing the country, according to Russian state media. Rosie Greninger has the story.
Celebrations in Damascus as news broke that Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad had been overthrown by rebel fighters after a civil war that has lasted 13 years. The regime's demise ending 5 decades of his family's brutal dictatorship. Rebel forces announcing their victory over state television.
نهاية هذه الحقبة المظلمة وبداية عهد جديد لسوريا.
Assad was in power for 24 years, taking over his father's tyrannical rule upon the older man's death. As their statues were toppled from pedestals across Syria, the ousted president and his family fled to Moscow. Russia, along with Iran, had long backed the Assad regime, providing technical and military support as he fought various rebel groups since 2011. But with both allies preoccupied with their own conflicts, Syrian rebel groups worked together in a lightning offensive, beginning their campaign in the northwest, sweeping through Aleppo, Homer, Daraa and Homs in just 11 days, before seizing the capital Damascus virtually unchallenged. With Assad gone, civilians and fighters raided the presidential palace, and prisoners long held by the regime were freed.
في غضون 11 يوم بفضل الله عز وجل تتحرر سوريا من شمالها إلى جنوبها ومن شرقها إلى غربها. الحمد لله. هذا مدد من الله عز وجل. الحمد لله رأينا بأم عيوننا كيف أن عذابات 13 عاما تتعافى من خلال هذا النصر العظيم.
Many Western leaders welcome the fall of the regime, aware that there is still much uncertainty ahead, including the country's relations with Russia and Iran.
As we all turn to the question of what comes next, the United States will work with our partners and the stakeholders in Syria to help them seize an opportunity to manage the risks.
An Assad appointee, Syria's Prime Minister Mohammed Ghazi al-Jalali, issued a video statement as the rebels took over, saying he's ready to help form a transitional government. He was last seen in the company of rebel fighters, reportedly to discuss a peaceful transfer of power.
This is a positive sort of sign because there is that sort of contact and coordination. But I think it's not gonna likely play a big role in terms of what comes next because you have different armed groups and different sort of areas of control.
The division between those groups raising fears negotiations could become complicated and drawn out. And it's not just those in the country counting on a swift transition. Across the border in Lebanon, jubilation among millions of Syrian refugees displaced by civil war. Longing to return home, daring to dream a better future for their country is now finally within reach. James Lin and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's former legislative speaker has proposed a new approach to handling relations with China, arguing for separate governance without division between the two sides.
我的主张是，两岸治权不相隶属，主权同而不分，接受现实的状态，但不否定隶属的情感。
It's unclear if Wang Jinping's formulation is meant to replace the 1992 consensus and unwritten understanding between his Kuomintang and the Chinese Communist Party that Taiwan is part of one China. Wang recently made a tour of China where he met with the head of the country's Taiwan Affairs Office. He did not mention the 1992 consensus in that meeting or in his most recent speech. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump says he and Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke within the last week. In an interview with NBC News, Trump said he has a very good relationship with Xi and that the two spoke just 3 days earlier. Trump said he didn't discuss Taiwan with Xi during that week's call. When asked whether he would defend Taiwan, which China claims and has threatened to take by force, Trump declined to comment directly, but stated that he would prefer China not to invade. The United States has historically helped Taiwan defend itself by selling it weapons. It does not promise to send troops, but leaves that option open. A South Korean military officer has spoken publicly about being ordered to block lawmakers from entering parliament last week after the country's president declared martial law.
전 김용현 국방장관에게 이용당한 가장 안타까운 계좌입니다. 부대원들은 죄가 없습니다. 죄가 있다면 무능한 지휘관의 지시를 따른 죄뿐입니다.
At a press conference, Colonel Kim Hyung-tae said he didn't know parliamentary activities should be allowed to continue during martial law. Politicians eventually broke through lines of military personnel and voted unanimously to rescind the declaration. Former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun has since been arrested for reportedly recommending President Yoon Suk-yeol declare martial law. Tourists are finally returning to Peru after a rough period for a country rocked by years of protests, strikes, and the world's deadliest COVID figures. But a new round of civil unrest is dealing yet another blow to the tourism industry. Reassess reports from Peru.
The ancient terraces of Machu Picchu, alive with tourists once again. Visitor numbers finally back to pre-pandemic levels. It's a welcome return for residents in the nearby town of Aguascalientes, including Yubitsa Corimania, who works in a local souvenir market.
Hola, buenas tardes.
She saw her income decimated over the last 5 years.
Pero no había nadie. Era como un pueblo abandonado. Sí. Era muy triste porque todo estaba cerrado, no había comida, no había medicamentos.
COVID-19 hit Peru hard. Visitor numbers dropped by around 80% during the pandemic, with the country's mortality rate the highest for the disease in the world. Succeeding years of civil unrest have also taken their toll on the tourism industry. And despite numbers now bouncing back, the troubles aren't over, as protests and transport strikes continue to target tourist hotspots. Many places in Peru rely heavily on tourism to sustain the local economy, including this city, Cusco, a major stopover point for one of Peru's top attractions, Machu Picchu. Disruptions to transport links here can have wide-reaching implications. Roughly 200,000 people in Cusco work directly in the tourism sector, close to half of the city's entire population.
También mayormente mucho nos afecta porque, como dices, que cierran lo que serían los aeropuertos, las calles, las carreteras que conectan entre Cusco con otras regiones. Entonces, el turismo también se paraliza acá.
Though damaging to the local economy, the years-long lack of visitors provided an opportunity for the Culture Ministry to re-evaluate how attractions like Machu Picchu operate and better protect the ancient sites.
Entonces, a la fecha, tenemos 3 circuitos y 10 rutas que permiten a 4.500 en época baja y 5.600 turistas en época alta de visitar el sitio de forma ordenada sin que la conservación del sitio del monumento se vea afectada.
But it might be a while before visitor numbers stabilize, as Peru is still grappling with civil and political turmoil, leaving those who rely on a steady flow of tourists fearing a return to economic uncertainty. Scott Huang, Harrell Hughes, and Reassess in Peru for TaiwanPlus.
Rescuers are still searching for a missing crew member from a tanker that ran aground off Taichung late Saturday. The Chinese national is the only one of the 15-strong crew of the Panama-flagged Liquid Gem still missing. The vessel reportedly had engine trouble in rough weather, causing it to drift. It had been offshore since November, waiting for permission to load fuel. Though it is mostly empty, equipment like oil booms were put in place in case of leaks. A grand celebration honoring the Virgin Mary kicked off in Pingtung, southern Taiwan, with thousands of participants witnessing the holy procession. Our reporter Cindy Chi was there.
The Virgin Mary, seated in a sedan chair, is carried through the streets of a small village in Pingtung, southern Taiwan. This is the Madonna Procession, the largest Catholic parade in the country, held annually on December 8th. The date marks the anniversary of when the church that holds the ceremony was established and coincides with the Catholic holiday, honoring the Virgin Mary, the church's patron saint.
圣母游行是天主教的一个传统的，特别彰显圣母爱，圣母爱我们世间人嘛。
The parade begins at Wanjing Basilica, the oldest Catholic church in Taiwan, dating back to the 1860s. Unlike other Catholic processions, this one is a grand celebration that blends both Catholic rituals and local Taiwanese customs. The fusion is most evident in the Virgin Mary's perch atop the sedan chair, similar to how deities are paraded around for traditional temple celebrations. But there are other unique cultural elements as well.
西方已经有在圣母游行，但是我们是融合了就是中式的一个色彩。你看今天你会看到放鞭炮，这是我们的特点。那个放鞭炮不是我们教友自己放，而是那个我们拜拜的不同信仰的一个那个家庭。
During the procession, around 50 volunteers take turns carrying the Virgin Mary through the streets. Her chair is said to weigh between 500 to 600 kilograms.
抬轿对我们来说的话是一个很神圣的一个事情，这样对我们自己心里面来说的话，这是一种承担一年当中所有的苦，我们把它承担起来，然后借由这个重担，我们好像把一年当中的一些罪啊或者是什么都释放掉，这样。
It is not only the volunteers who feel the honor and significance of the event. Thousands of people from all walks of life also joined the festivities.
万金教堂的圣母的活动其实是在当地很盛大的，那每一年都有吸引很多人会来看。那我们本身是基督徒，所以我们也会有一个氛围，会想要来参与这样的活动。
Taiwan is also host to a growing number of Filipinos who are often Catholic themselves. For those that can join, the event helps them feel a bit closer to home.
I'm a Catholic and so very close together with the family because here in Taiwan is no family here. Only my daughters and some of my friends. I'm here to Taiwan for 27 years and this celebration of Immaculate Conception, I attend this Mass every year.
We Catholics are family-oriented. We want to know our family, our children, especially we are married to Taiwanese. We want to, educate them with the Catholicism and our faith to be strengthened, even though we are here in Taiwan.
Although the parade has concluded, festivities at this church will continue all throughout December. Christmas celebrations will keep the village lit up, spreading hope, peace and love in a joyful way to bid farewell to 2024. Alex Shin and Sandy Chi in Pingtung for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we take you to Paris for the first public mass at Notre Dame since a fire damaged the church in 2019. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.